A stalled boundary continues to feed deep tropical moisture into the Western Caribbean. We'll look at the problems it continues to bring and what the rest of the Atlantic hurricane season will bring to our area. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi, my friends. Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We are your home for Caribbean weather, and it's nice to see you for this latest video. Coming up in this video, we still have the flooding rain problems for portions of the Caribbean, how long that is going to linger, your island by island rainfall forecast, and tropically, what the rest of November has in store for our area. Before we get started, yes, what I'm wearing today has a bit of a country western flair. I know that. So as we get started, I say, giddy up. Meteo Mundo, sponsored by the Lane Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. They offer free consultation and policy reviews. Go to leanonmelaw.com if you would like more information. Cowboys and cowgirls, as always, love to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments section below what's been happening in your area. Have a question about the forecast, drop it in the comments section below. So this boundary is still plaguing our area. Now it's beginning to fade and dissipate, but the problem is along this trough back into Central America, we have a very broad low-level area of low pressure that has developed. And that's a problem because it's feeding in the moisture, a lot of lift in the atmosphere, and we continue to see some flooding issues in those areas. That stalled boundary is still bringing some rain to portions of the southeast side of the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos, and fresh easterlies for a lot of the Caribbean. The numbers that you see are wind gusts in miles an hour. And again, there's been a lot of wind even where we haven't had a lot of rain. But the problem is, again, this is not moving quickly. Now, because the front is beginning to dissipate, the moisture field is not as concentrated, so the rain field is not as widespread for today. But where it's still concentrated, Gulf of Honduras and the Northwest Caribbean in general, it's still a problem with significant rainfall in some areas. And again, you can just see this bit of broad twist in the atmosphere. That's where that weak low-level center has developed just off of the coastline of Belize. The problem is, again, the persistent rain and the winds, up to 25, 30 miles an hour, Utila, Roatan, Guanaja, and just the rich, deep tropical moisture that's going nowhere. Now, we continue to have the excessive rainfall watch for Belize, and I've noted a few areas of flooding, especially in coastal sections of Belize and Guatemala and northern Honduras and the Bay Islands, but it has been very spotty or very sporadic. So you guys let me know in the comments section below if you guys have been associated with some of that flooding. We have had 4 to 8 inches of rain in some areas, or 100 to 200 millimeters. But again, it's very local, very area dependent, and it gets a little bit farther south into Honduras, and we have a lot of high terrain here, and that could lead to some quick flooding of low-lying areas. Now, north of the boundary, we're spreading in a little bit of moisture towards Cancun and Cozumel, but again, the air is drier there. So I'm still most concerned about the far southern sides of Quintana Roo, Belize, Guatemala, and the northern sides of Honduras. Now, I mentioned it's been spotty. This is a beautiful rainbow earlier today from Deborah Fairweather in the Ladyville area of Belize. Take a look at that picture-perfect rainbow. She said, I took this photo before the weather turned, so I imagine that means before the rain moved back into the area. But Deborah, I appreciate you sending in that photo. It's a great one. Of course, when the rain moves away, you get some of those lovely photos, some of those lovely rainbow pictures. Problem is, we at least have one more day of potential significant rain in this area. Now, you also notice that, a lot of the moisture is right inland right now, and that's because we've had the onshore flow the last couple of days. The winds have been out of the east or northeast in most areas, which has allowed, again, all of the moisture to push back inland over these areas, and that is likely to not change. We need this front to fully dissipate before things get a little bit more improved. Now, this has led to a little bit drier forecast in the Cayman Islands and Jamaica over the last 24 to 48 hours, especially over Jamaica. We just had some spotty showers and storms. Again, still monitoring the situations in the western side of the island as recovery efforts are going to be ongoing for a great deal of time here. And we've had a few storms in Manchester and St. Elizabeth parishes today, Mandeville, Treasure Beach, Black River, but they haven't been very area wide. They've been very sporadic. If you've had some of those showers and storms, let me know. But a lot of dry hours in locations in Jamaica on this Thursday. A few showers near Grand Cayman, but otherwise just some cloudier skies. And then you follow the front, which again is just dissipating for the most part here. These are mainly mid-level or high-level clouds across the central, southeast Bahamas and portions of Turks and Caicos. They're not necessarily producing a lot of rain, but we've had more overcast skies here, especially from the Acklins and Mayaguana and Inagua back down towards Grand Turk and the Caicos. But even up towards Cat Island, we've had some cloud coverage. Now you get farther north into the northwest Bahamas, and it's been an absolutely lovely day. Look at these temperatures when I pop these on. I'm just going to take off these buoy observations here. No, it's not that cold, I promise you, but it is cool. That is Freeport, 73 with a 55-degree dew point. The air is pretty darn dry, and even New Providence and Andros have enjoyed a lovely day. Now again, got our live cameras here at Meteo Mundo. You get into the central Bahamas and Long Island, and it's pretty overcast. Again, there's not a lot of rain associated with this. There's some showers, but this is mainly a deck, a very overcast, thick deck of mid and upper level clouds. And then you get farther north where the air is drier, and it's a broken deck of clouds, but a lot of sunshine overall for central Eleuthera. Beautiful shot there from the Governor's Harbor area. And the wind has been non-significant as well. We'll follow our moisture train back down towards Hispaniola, where mainly it's the easterlies that are feeding in some of these showers for today. We've had a couple in the peninsula towards Lakai there in the Haiti side of the island. Otherwise, a few spotty showers. Now, this is an area where rain chances will begin to improve the next couple of days, and here's the reason why. This boundary is going to slowly sag to the south and to the east, should hold up together enough where we're going to have some rainfall develop off of that and close enough to Hispaniola and Puerto Rico to begin to up the rain chance there somewhat starting tomorrow, but a little bit better chance into Saturday and Sunday. So again, we've had a couple of very isolated showers for today through portions of the southwest sides of Puerto Rico. Again, the thunderstorms are kind of just meandering right now, but all of the winds are going to be out of the east surface base wise, 15, 20, 25 mile an hour winds from time to time. It's been a lovely afternoon across the Leeward Islands for today. Again, we've had some spotty passing showers, but many dry hours and locations. Let me throw these temperatures back on for you here. And again, Anguilla 82 right now with a daytime high in the upper 80s Fahrenheit. So, about 30 degrees Celsius in most spots. Some areas a little bit warmer than that. Some areas a little bit cooler, but not bad. Again, we've kicked up the sea conditions from time to time. We've had some high surf advisories, and that could linger over the next couple of days as well, as the fresh easterlies are likely to continue. But appreciable rain will still be somewhat absent from the forecast, especially farther off towards the south. Martinique today getting up to around 88 for the daytime high. Bridgetown, Barbados came in today mainly in the lower 80s Fahrenheit. St. Lucia coming in at 84. We had 84 currently in Port of Spain, but the daytime high today of about 88. What a gorgeous shot from Corinth, St. Lucia late on this Thursday. Again, that sun is setting and you're getting that western horizon view. And of course, you get a little bit of dust right there, a little bit thicker part of the atmosphere right along the horizon. So you get those beautiful hues, those oranges, and sometimes the pinks and the purples. What a fantastic sky. And right overhead, St. Lucia, nothing but clear skies at the hour. Same situation across the ABC Islands as well. Temperatures today got a little bit toastier. Aruba got up to 90 degrees. That's going to be in the Oranjestad area. That's about 32 degrees Celsius. And the winds have been a factor again, some 25 to 35 mile an hour gusts here late today. Mentioned it in yesterday's video how, the winds are going to be kicked up here in the central and eventually the western sides of the Caribbean again. I mean, is this a postcard or what? You've got a sailboat there right near shore, paralleling the coast, and then you have sunset in the background. Someone take this picture and we can make it a postcard and send it to all of the MM subscribers. I mean, come on. And again, beautiful shot from the Eagle Beach area near Oranjestad. Just a fantastic day. Bit of a breezy sky condition out there, but again, there you go. Love it. Thanks for taking a quick second, liking this video, subscribing to the channel as well. Thank you for sharing this channel with your family and friends. Appreciate all of our members, new and old as well. Let's get right into what's going to be happening over the next couple of days. So, biggest concern with rain is likely to continue to be in the northwest side of the Caribbean. Again, this front is slowly going to dissipate and allow the moisture to break apart, but it's going to take another day or two. So if you've had some excessive rainfall, the flood potential, unfortunately, will still be there at least through Friday, and in some areas of the southern sides of Quintana Roo, the northern sides of Central America, through Saturday as well. But it's beginning to fade a bit. Then we turn our attention to places like Turks and Caicos and Hispaniola and potentially Puerto Rico to start to see that boundary sag far enough south to pull some of the moisture with it to at least up the rain chance, and in some areas potentially make that rain chance significant enough where we would have to watch out for the opportunity for some heavier downpours. Let me bring up the reflectivity here, if I can find the correct button. There we go. Not as hard as you think. Perfect. All right, let's loop this up. All right, hang on a second. Still hit the wrong button. I'm switching models here. Stand by. All right, that should do it. So again, this clearly shows you how this is going to pull a little bit farther south and east, but it's going to do it in a really slow fashion. So underneath some of this, we have the opportunity for persistent rain. Maybe it's not very heavy, but from time to time it could be over the southeast Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, feeding into the Dominican Republic and Haiti, and eventually towards Puerto Rico as well. Now, the interesting thing is the farther west or northwest that you live as this boundary comes in, the better chance for rain you're going to get. So when you see the island by island forecast, I actually have a fairly higher chance for rain in Puerto Rico compared to the Virgin Islands, especially the farther east that you go. So St. Croix and St. Thomas and St. John should have a slightly better chance than Jost Van Dyke and Roadtown, Tortola, and Virgin Gorda and Anegada. But Vieques and Culebra likely to have a better rain chance than the Virgin Islands and the Puerto Rico mainland as well. You can clearly see that here, that we're just going to have a little bit more green. There's just a little bit more lift in the atmosphere closer to this boundary, and that boundary is going to be a little bit farther north and west. So overall, we'll be feeding in some moisture into the Leeward Islands, but it's still going to mainly be the easterlies with the opportunity for rain here. So rain chances will A, be a little bit lower in the Lesser Antilles overall compared to the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, and B, the significant rain should be more confined to areas off towards the west. So I don't expect as much rain in places like Antigua and Barbuda compared to San Juan and Ponce and Arecibo, Puerto Rico, but the opportunity will be there with a few passing showers, and that will be the forecast throughout the entire Lesser Antilles. Farther south you go into the Windward Islands, the rain should be a little bit spottier, but some of these easterlies will carry in and transport in some of the moisture. Perhaps an isolated shower or two over the ABC Islands the next couple of days, but it's the breeze, it's the warm conditions out there for Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao that will dominate the forecast. Monsoon trough, Central American gyre still producing some widespread heavy rain for Panama and Costa Rica. Of course, this time of the year it's quite active. I don't expect that to go anywhere anytime soon, but you can see that starting especially Saturday and Sunday, our boundary fades, the concentration of moisture dissipates, and overall the rain chances will begin to lower. So if you can hang on until Saturday, we'll get you some drier air for San Pedro and Belize City and Dangriga and San Pedro Sula and La Ceiba and Roatan, Utila, and Guanaja. But be aware that Friday is likely to be quite active in these areas, and I still can't rule out some heavier downpours and additional flooding and or flash flooding. And of course, flash flooding is fast moving water that rises very quickly, and that could be a big problem. And again, some rainfall is likely to still be a few inches tomorrow, probably 2 to 4 in a couple of spots. That's 50 to 100 millimeters. Rain will also be fairly spotty in the Cayman Islands, but near that boundary, I can't rule out a couple of passing showers for Grand Cayman, Little Cayman, and Cayman Brac, although things should begin to improve in Jamaica. Now, we're still going to have a northeast wind. So we can see a couple of showers on the northern coastline, anywhere from Hanover Parish to Portland parishes. So anywhere Montego Bay all the way towards Port Antonio, and then some of that moisture driving inland or west a bit. But the overall coverage of rain the next couple of days will be no more than 30%. So many dry hours and locations. And again, you can clearly see that boundary over southeast sides of Cuba, southeast Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, sagging off towards the south. The other thing we're going to have is another significant cold front, and a very strong area of low pressure north of Bermuda. The first thing it's going to bring are fresh gale breezes, and then the opportunity for some really squally weather, maybe not getting towards Bermuda until early next week, but it's a very active forecast. But Bermuda is used to it this time of the year as the cold front is coming off the United States East Coast, especially the lows off of the New England coastline are quite strong with a lot of wind, and they really kick up those wind and rain conditions, fast moving variety in the Atlantic. So this is what it looks like for you guys, island by island. Again, we're still mainly dry in the Northwest Bahamas. So, New Providence and Freeport, Lucaya, Grand Bahama, the Abacos looking fantastic and mainly dry. Scattered showers, best chance tomorrow, Central Southeast Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, just a little bit lower on Saturday and Sunday, but still the rain chance is going to be there. Cuba's rain chances will stay on the moderate side. Cayman Islands will still see a few showers, but once that boundary fully dissipates, we're basically dry beginning on Sunday. And there's the fading rain chances in Belize City, but still elevated tomorrow with the locally heavy downpours, then more isolated to scattered Saturday and Sunday. Cancun and Cozumel will still see some rain tomorrow, but it should be of the lighter variety, and then fading to low rain chances for the weekend ahead. Again, Jamaica's rain chances are relatively low, especially over the weekend. Dominican Republic's rain chances are kind of all over the place, but they should build as the front begins to come in and settle over the area. Now, again, it's a fairly weak system. There'll be some tropical moisture associated with it. We'll look at rainfall totals coming up, but even though rain chances are going to be going back up high in the DR, Haiti, and Puerto Rico, it's not as if a lot of areas are likely to see significant rain. It's just that the rain chance certainly coming back for the ride. And you can clearly see that you get into the Virgin Islands, and overall compared to Puerto Rico and areas to the west, the rain chance is up but lower compared to those spots. Bermuda's rain chances again will be on the scattered side, and Anguilla's rain chances that far east will be more isolated. St. Kitts and Nevis, it's a moderate chance. Antigua, Barbuda, Montserrat will see the same situation. Guadeloupe with scattered rain chances Friday, Saturday, a little bit more isolated on Sunday. And again, the farthest south in the island chain that you go here in the Lesser Antilles, rain chances should overall be a little bit lower. Spotty, 30% chance in some areas, and even down to a 20% chance for St. Lucia and SVG. Next couple of days, we should start to see a little bit more tropical moisture coming back in on Sunday for Barbados and Grenada to slightly improve their rain chance, but not a lot. TNT, especially Trinidad, will have a little bit better rain chance the next few days. Suriname and Guyana stay with, moderate rain chances here and there. Some locally heavy downpours possible. And I don't have a lot of rain in the forecast for Nueva Esparta and the ABC Islands. Again, a few showers are possible, but not a lot. So as the cold fronts come off the United States East Coast, again, you can see the waves that they're going to be kicking up. The other situation is the fact that once we get past the weekend into early next week, there's a lot of gray on this map. Things for a brief time, as far as waves and winds and the exposed waters go, will be calming down a bit. So boaters will get an opportunity here. Things should be improving, right? We have the large wave and strong wind advisory still for the offshore waters of Jamaica, but hopefully that goes away tomorrow and overall conditions appear to be a little bit more favorable for the week ahead. When we look at the rainfall totals, again, you can clearly see the boundary and how slowly it moves and how there's still some significant rain along that. And with the Central American gyre, the monsoon trough, and southern sides of Central America, the problems with the rain there. But the issue is that we could still see high rain totals. It's just, does it fall on shore or does it stay just offshore of portions of Belize into the Gulf of Honduras and the Bay Islands? So that was the European model. This is the GFS model, and it gets very interesting because it still wants to paint on significant rain, but man, it's isolated. It's really going to be very hard to tell you whether we could see another foot of rain, and this does take into account nothing that's already fallen, this additional rain over the next 5 days in San Pedro, or is it an inch? Because it's very hard to determine when we're looking at these global models exactly where that most prominent rain is to be, right? But I want you guys in Belize, southern sides of Quintana Roo, Guatemala, northern Honduras to understand that at least the chance is still there for a few areas to get additional significant flooding rain. I don't expect it to be widespread, but it's not a non-zero chance. So please be very cautious at least until Saturday before this boundary finally gets out of the way. And again, hard pressed to tell you that it's 12 inches in San Pedro and just an inch in the Bay Islands. That could be flipped, or it could be kind of an averaging of that. And that's what I would do here. Remember, I mentioned 4 to 8 as a maximum. I think it's widespread 2 to 4 with a maximum hopefully no more than 8. But it is interesting to note that both the GFS and the European model had some bullseyes here right along the coast of Belize and Guatemala and the southern sides of Quintana Roo. So, still could be an issue before it's all said and done. Still some significant rain for Panama and portions of Costa Rica where several inches could fall here. And again, this is just your rainfall totals over the next 5 days. Now, eventually, early next week, some heavier rain is likely to get back into portions of the Windward Islands. So we'll talk more about this coming up. Most of this heavier rain falls early next week. And again, the rain in the short term here is a little bit more spotty. And I've already mentioned, again, the farther northwest that you go with the boundary, your rain chances and totals are likely to be higher. So Puerto Rico should have some rain, but the farther north and west that you go, in general, portions of Hispaniola, Southeast Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, Cuba, rain chances there should be a little bit higher. All right, let's talk about this real quick. Do expect to see quiet conditions for the rest of hurricane season. I'm always monitoring the situation, but we are now at a point, my friends, where that little peak just before November 10th has passed us by. What that means is typically we start to see the inherent environmental conditions for additional tropical development really fall off very quickly as we head towards the end of November. And that's what I have in the forecast. Again, I've been monitoring the situation here in the western side of the Caribbean for any spin-ups that would try and develop near our Central American gyre and our monsoon trough. I'm just loading up here the GFS for the next 7 days. Look at the European model as well. What you are going to continue to see, of course, is some moisture being pumped in here, but nothing that is trying to develop of a true tropical fashion with a low-level center. Again, if the GFS tries to do it, actually tries to do it here on the Pacific side. Now, the good news is, ultimately, by the 7 days, the 6th, 7th day, you start to see this break apart a little bit. Still going to be active, still going to be have some heavier rain, but we're going to have a little bit of a breath. We can take a little bit of a breath here for some areas that have had so much significant rainfall in the western side of the Caribbean over the last week or so. Things should fall apart a bit. Overall, then, there's still going to be some interesting disturbances in the main development region of the Atlantic, but this time of the year, they don't really have any signs of true development. The tropical waves certainly aren't as active. We have what we call the intertropical convergence zone coming back in and just, being a factor to kick some low-level moisture back in. And you can see that blow up. That's what the GFS model is showing. But as far as anything being organized, not expecting it. On the ensemble members, you're still going to see near the Southwest Caribbean, 1 or 2 members, either with an area of low pressure in the Pacific or in the southwest side of the Caribbean, but nothing that really stands out whatsoever. And if it does, it's hugging the coastline. Now, of course, that could still feed in the onshore winds and lead to other areas of additional significant rain, but tropically, probably not. European model, a week out, again, 1 week area, 1,006 millibars, is very, very low. And of course, the deeper we get into November, even the sea surface temperatures here in the Western Caribbean, which have been exceptionally high, begin to fall. The cold fronts that are coming in are pushing in some cooler air and dropping sea surface temperatures as well. And that will eventually get into the southwest sides of the Caribbean. So the way I see it, at least as of now, is despite the fact that we should have a fairly active forecast over the next week in the Western Caribbean, I don't see anything tropically that's trying to develop, but that doesn't mean we're not going to have some extensive rainfall and some gusty winds, because that will still be an issue in some spots. Friends, I appreciate you guys. You can, of course, follow us across all of our social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, X, and Facebook. Send me a picture like Deborah did. I appreciate that. mymeteomundo@gmail.com. As always, you have a question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. While you're down there, I always appreciate you guys hitting that like button and subscribing. Please remember, Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. Wind, hail, hurricane damage, property damage of any kind, they'll walk you through the insurance claim process. Go to leanomnilaw.com if you would like more information. Friends, I appreciate you guys so much. I'm late for the rodeo, I'll see you tomorrow with your latest forecast right here at Meteo Mundo.